We live in an age where those in power are openly using every weapon at their disposal to impose their will upon the future. Where the principles of authoritarianism and individualism stand in open conflict in the streets, in the courts, in the news, in everyday life. Where the choices we make and the choices that are made for us have consequences no one can foresee. You do not stand alone. You do not fight alone. You do not suffer alone. We are united. We resist. We are here with you. As long as there is a truth that remains hidden, as long as lies are spread openly, we will continue to speak out. We will continue to question. We will continue to be the united resistance.
What do you want to do now, Cap?
The same thing we always do. Fight them until we can't.
Yep, that's right. Fight them until we can't. And welcome to episode 61 of United Resistance. It feels like forever because it's been, about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. I haven't done a live stream in a while. I've been fighting off not only sickness, but frustration and grind of getting through what seems to be like the never-ending final process of getting the home sold. But finally, hopefully by this Friday, and it should be according to what the document my realtor sent over, that this Friday should be it. So I'm hoping that it is indeed the end. Everything is going to be signed, sealed, and delivered. I met the people today. They're by my house. The final walkthrough happened. Their agent took them through. I just happened to be home. I ended up meeting them, which was actually cool because now I can kind of breathe a sigh of relief in one sense, guys, and that is that I don't have to take like every single particle of anything left here at the house, because the guy that's buying my house is like, hey, if you got some useful things that you can't use, that you can't take with you, feel free to leave them. He's like, if they're useful, I'll make use of them. So no worries. He's like, all I ask, just don't leave a bunch of trash, and he's right. And of course, I've been doing my due diligence since the first week of the month when we thought we were going to close, to keep everything clean and sanitary and looking good. And as Will can attest, we've really kind of together as a group effort kept the house in pretty immaculate shape, I'll have to say. But
we'll stipulate.
Yeah, the bottom line here is, guys, finally it's in sight. I'm glad, and I so want this week to be over because I want to be done with this. And that takes me into the next conundrum, which is tomorrow, per the agreement I have with the utility companies, all my utilities are shut off, and I'm officially at that point in limbo. So I have to I did book a reservation at an extended stay hotel. However, if they ask me for money up front tomorrow when I arrive, I'm screwed because I have $17. And I think it's going to probably take more like 120 or so to get in there. But it is what it is, and I've just been doing my best to cross each bridge as we come to it. I tweeted out the fund yesterday. We also have it pinned in our chat. I'm $300 away from funding the thing completely. I desperately do need the help to be able to get into someplace temporarily because that extended stay is going to be my living situation until a rental opens up either in Tennessee or in Ohio. At this point, I'm just going to take the first thing that comes. So my dream of 100% going to Tennessee may be in jeopardy, but at this point, a roof over my head is the most important. So I'm going to take whatever comes first, whether it be here, whether it be there. So, that's where we're at on the situation. And after tomorrow, obviously, I'm not going to have internet anymore for a little while until I have a permanent residence. So this will be the final stream for a while. I'll be able to join other people's streams, probably by my mobile phone, whatever. But for all intents and purposes, this is the last one that I'll host. Maybe the extended stay will have good Wi-Fi. We'll see if I can get in there, that is. But one thing at a time. So it's great to see everyone. Sorry that there's been such a gap between content, but you guys have been understanding this entire time. So I thank you guys just for being a great and supportive group of viewers. You guys are the best chat on YouTube, the best audience that anybody could ask for. So today, our show, we're going to talk about a lot of different things. I mean, there's been news unfolding the past 3 days like you wouldn't believe. But let me introduce first the wonderful Janet from another planet. She looks far better than me and Will, and she speaks better than me and Will.
Yeah.
And let me introduce, of course, the guy that doesn't have a YouTube channel, the guy that regularly crashes the show, the guy that is the pseudo producer of the show now. Good pal Free Speech Gaming has been missing in action due to life happening for him as well. So Will's been pulling the switches behind the scenes. Actually, no, he isn't. He's just freeloading, but it's all good. So Will is in the house.
Yeah. You keep sending me the link, so I decided to crash the party after you send me the link.
Yeah. So, anyways, it's great to see everyone, and let's say hi to everybody in the chat. Big John's here. Tolbert is here, modding, wielding his wrench. Trina is here, modding and wielding her wrench. She has the wrench of all wrenches. Our buddy Terminus Est is in the house. Of course, Janet is already here. Tina Bojan is in the house. And Tina, after the house closes Friday, when I get a chance to breathe, I will get that out to you. Trina won our recent raffle on Midnight Prism, and she has a figurine courtesy of Andy Masterson coming to her of Yaphet from the Orville. So I'm looking forward to sending that out to her. Radioactive is in the house. Rita is in the house. Great to see you, honey. I always love seeing you. Also, Rita's other half, Dwayne, is in the house. Great to see you as well. Lady Mist is here. Lady Mist, I'm so happy to see you, honey. And Lady Mist has been so supportive and amazing, and just God, from the beginning, Lady Mist, you've been with me from the beginning, and I absolutely adore you for that. And Death Angel Shadows in the house. What's going on, my friend? Great to see you. Keely Chow is up in here. Great to see you, Keely. And yeah, we've got a cast of thousands at the moment. I love it. But my goodness, what is happening with our world? So, it just boggles my mind trying to process all of this, and will credit him for bringing it to my attention about the first that I heard of the shooting. And then I checked Twitter. Usually it's the opposite. I check Twitter and I usually know ahead of time. But
if I may, you should be ashamed of yourself that you're on Twitter and I'm not, and I'm breaking news to you.
Yeah, that was one of the first times you actually did that. So I was surprised.
I'm not proud of it. Right?
But the day that it happened, just seeing the stuff after Will told me about it and paying attention to my Twitter feed when I could, it was mind-boggling. Number one, that Biden comes out, makes a statement, and opens with a joke. Are you fucking kidding me? Talking about ice cream when people just die. Like, how the fuck does that happen? I mean,
I didn't see that one. Hold on a second.
I mean, this is our fucking president, man. So you got that, and then you have the act itself, which was reprehensible. I mean, the story is heartbreaking of that little girl that lost her life, that was the daughter of the pastor. I mean, it just absolutely breaks your heart. And I'm heartbroken. My condolences and prayers to the victims, the people that died, and CNN and some of these other news outlets, they actually put emphasis on apologizing for misgendering the shooter instead of put a human face on this terrible crime and talk about the victims. And look, you guys know why that is. You are all smart. You understand why that is. To the way that they're structuring society right now, they have painted Christians as scum of the earth. They painted anybody that thinks in a very, I guess, salt of the earth reality. People that think in actual reality, they paint you as the scum of the earth. If you have even so much as a shred of conservative leaning, you are scum of the earth. I mean, it is ridiculous. And for them to marginalize human life in order to satisfy an agenda is unforgivable. And this is why no one trusts the mainstream news media whatsoever, because they are blinded by false reality and agenda instead of searching for the truth, which should be their mandate. That is the mandate of journalism, to search for the truth wherever it may lead. And we have gotten so far away from that when you see independent journalists, citizen journalists, and you see just how many have come out of the woodwork lately, there's a reason for that. And that is, it really brings it home when you see something in the aftermath of something like this. And I was just mind boggled by all of this. Then you have the component of what I like to call the trans mafia. And at this point, they are beyond the trans mafia. They're just the trans militants. They them think that you are their enemy. They now are being weaponized to kill you. You know, I've always said that the trans agenda is trash. It is living in false reality. It is, you know, those people, to me, and look, I'm going to get flack for this next comment. There's going to be the people that come out and say, oh my God, he's a bigot. I don't care. They're abominations. They are creatures. And while, yes, it's a controversial statement, I stand by that statement because it is historical fact that this is not normal. It stems from a specific type of programming turned into mental illness. That's exactly what this is. See, the first trans people started with the Joseph Mengele experiment. You know, he was joining people together by their heads. He was doing all kind of twisted experiments. And he did that. He did genital mutilation, gender confusion on purpose to create these abominations because he was a sick person. Well, the programming to create these circumstances and create these types of things never went away. As a matter of fact, they decided to pull all of that bag of tricks out of the woodwork again. Hey, let's dust that off, pull that out of the box. We can fuck people's minds and brains up and turn them into this. And then, of course, you had the societal ramifications where everybody started to bow to these groups. There was a checkbox of certain victim groups you had to bow to. You had to bow to the trans agenda. You had to bow to the LGBT agenda in general. You had to bow to the blacks. You had to bow to the Muslims. You had to bow to, you know, the illegals. This was the unspoken, you know, victim group of wokeness that you had to bow to. It was like an entire list. And then you had, you know, the feminazis as well that you had to bow to on top of it. So it just, I'm at the point where I'm not going to hold my tongue. I'm not going to shut up. I'm not going to sit here and worry about tiptoeing around any of these groups anymore. I don't have to. There is not one single law written in the Constitution of the United States of America that says I have to do that. That I have to emotionally coddle these people. I don't. I believe in reality, actual reality. And this kind of thing has no place in it. Yes, back in the 80s when I grew up, we had transvestites, we had transsexuals. But there was a reason why gays, transsexuals, lesbians, the whole 9 yards were called alternative lifestyle because they were a very tiny percentage. It was an alternative lifestyle. It was a choice. And then they turned it into a societal trend. And now you have people doing this to be trendy, to be cool. And they're ruining their lives forever as a result. And I'm sorry I got off on such a diatribe there. I know it was long-winded. I appreciate you guys staying with me. But I had to get that off my chest. It's been bugging me for 2 days straight. Now, we'll pass it over to Janet. We'll let her throw in her 2 cents, and then we'll go over to Will.
Well, I was just wondering whether or not this woman was taking testosterone and how that would affect her to cause her to do this. But what really saddened me was reading all the tweets that people were tweeting out afterward, saying, instead of saying anything about how tragic it was for the people that were shot, was the fact that they were saying that she had been sexually assaulted when she was younger by the church. And that's a terrible thing for that to happen to anyone, but it still doesn't give anyone the right to go and take a gun and start shooting people. So I had a really hard time dealing with that.
Mm-hmm. I hate to say it, Janet, but a big reason that I believe, always pondering to answer your question. A big reason that that question is not being asked is because, unfortunately, these shootings, I'm not going to say they're normal. I'm not going to say they happen every week, but it's people. I mean, even the two of you don't have the same reaction to these things as you did, say. And I know I'm going way back here. Columbine, back. It's going to be next month. It's about a month away from 24 years since Columbine happened. These things are happening way too often, and the narrative that's being thrown around is that of more of the stories behind the actual tragedy than the tragedy itself. I also want to throw in the fact that you were talking earlier, Drew, about it's not just a trans thing, but the attack on Christians. And I read a story on the NBC News website that the chief, I didn't obviously see the interview, but in an interview that the chief of police of Nashville did with Lester Holt, he's saying that he believes that she harbored a resentment towards having to go to the school, which was, as we know, a private Christian school.
Well, that's fine. I didn't exactly like Catholic school all the time, but I had no desire to go and kill the nuns, kill the priests, kill my fellow students. I mean, it's absolutely off the deep end. And, the thing is, and Radioactive brings up a great point right here. So is the coroner for the shooter doing a toxicology? Curious to know if the shooter was on SSRIs. And you know what? And also hail to Phil TMNT, and hail as well to the Time Prophet, and hail to Wook. Listen, they're never going to tell you that. Even if they do a tox screen, and that's the case, they're not going to tell you that. You know why? Because nobody wants to offend anyone's sensibilities. And that is why they will withhold facts in order not to offend somebody. It's what I like.
I don't want to interrupt anybody, so.
No, Gina, let me make one more point, and I'll pass it over to you. But they don't want to offend somebody, so they hold back information even beforehand, so they don't. Actual, truthful, factual information.
Vital truths.
And
truths that need to be heard.
And that's what really ticks me the fuck off. Now go ahead.
Oh, me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I really believe that if The states have the right, the governors have the right to call in the National Guard, not the president. And I think every state should have the governor ask the National Guard to come in 2-week intervals to every single school in their state and have 2 people there every single day until they can figure out a way to get full-time security or whatever at the schools. Because if we don't, never let a crisis go to waste. So if we don't do something, there's going to try to pass a bunch of stuff, legislation to stop us from having weapons, and then the only ones left that have guns will be the criminals, and we will have no say. So it's either homeschool all your children, don't let them go to schools, and take your money away from the government that way, or have our governors protect our children by calling in the National Guard. They're already there in every single state. Every governor has National Guard, and they're already getting jobs 2 weeks every year for training and stuff. So I don't know why we don't just use an emergency act in every state and call them in until they can figure out ways to do it. And they need the National Guard because there's lots of cities and towns that only have 1 cop in their town, or even if they have a police department. So you can't have the police department or the sheriffs spread out that far with all these small towns with these small elementary schools. And some towns only have an elementary school or a middle school or a high school. You have 5 or 6 towns using 1 or 2 different schools. So I think the National Guard would be perfect. But then I've heard people say you can't do that because then it'd be a police state. Well, it isn't a police state if your governor asks for it. They use them for tornadoes, for floods, and things like that. And the National Guard are made up of people from your state that are family members and cousins and parents of all the people that you go to different towns to meet. So I just think that's the best thing for us to do right now until we can find a better way to protect our children.
Yeah, I can't keep track of these creatures. Trina says, wasn't this a trans woman? Wasn't it
It was a woman that wanted to be a man.
It was a woman that wanted to be a man,
That's why I asked if they were taking testosterone.
Yeah. Well, if she was, look.
I mean, that's the preferred method toward, isn't that?
But well, it doesn't really matter any of it because it's already passed. They're only going to let out what they want us to know, but we do have say. If we all call our governors and say, please, for the love of God, protect our children, call out the National Guard. We pay taxes every single day. Every time you go to work, they take taxes out of your check for your state to be protected, and your state can have protection.
Well, Janet, the thing is, the bottom line is, and I want to get to Time Prophet's point there too, but the bottom line here is, like, when you pump the hormone of the opposite sex into you at ridiculous levels, it's going to have an adverse effect. I mean, obviously we know what it does to males. You grow breasts, you have, it really screws up your ability to process things. It throws you off emotionally and just all over the place. You're all over the place.
It creates a huge chemical imbalance.
And likewise, on the other end, if you feed a woman ridiculously high levels of testosterone, she's going to go through the same thing. It's like going through roid rage. She's going to be
that's the same. If anyone goes through puberty, you have a rise in hormones and you act accordingly to that. But can I say something to Trina's post?
Yeah, this one.
Yeah, we don't need the National Guard. Well, I hate to say this, but there's many thousands and thousands of small towns that have a school that don't have the funding to hire security. Okay, we already pay the National Guard. We're already paying them. I know people in the National Guard, they get paid for 2 months every year to work. And if they get called up, then they get paid more money. But it's already a budget for that. All these small towns, like Grandis, Arkansas, has 299 people in it. They have an elementary school and a daycare. but they don't have the money to pay a full-time person to stay there every single day. They just don't have the money. So the way to get around that until we can figure out a different way to do it, especially since we've spent millions and millions and millions and millions and $100 million in Ukraine that could have been used for this kind of purpose, but we don't have that anymore. It's gone. We're never going to get that back. So we have to use what we have right this minute. Tomorrow we could start National Guard in every school, in every single school in the United States. We have the capability to do that. And until each town can adjust and figure out a way to bring full-time people in, parents, whoever they can get as volunteers to be able to afford it, to protect their kids. I don't know what else to do. That's the smartest thing I can see to do.
My God, Janet, that sounds so bigoted. Why can't we have drag storytime women protecting every school? Let's take this in the opposite direction.
Yeah, let's make them all like China.
Oh Jesus!
It is so ridiculous, though. No, you know what I want to say?
Go ahead.
Has anybody else noticed this? Like every time the Democrats are having problems with their numbers, we always seem to have one of these incidents that seems to happen, and it seems more often than not it's a trans testicle, opposite gender in disguise that's pulling it off lately. Has anybody else noticed that, or is that just me?
No, it's a pattern, Tommy. You know, and you're right. And by the way, great to welcome Tommy and the Guinea Pig Collective in.
Well, I'd like to ask if anybody can come up with a way in our chat to pay for all these security guards for these small towns.
Abolish.
Well, Janet, wouldn't a good idea be asking the parents what they think? Because remember when they used to have like parents that used to.
That's what student council.
They used to get their time. They were part of that, and they would go in, and whether it was they were going there for school events, for I don't know, like prom or whatever thing. Why can't they have parents that are armed and are willing to take on that responsibility?
I suggested that already. I suggested that already earlier.
Leave this
and family members or other members of the community to volunteer their time to without having to be paid to go to the schools if they have a concealed carry license and they have that type of stuff to cover the basis so the parents aren't worried that people are just running around with guns that aren't trained. If you have people that have concealed carries that have been through the training and they want to volunteer their time, then I think we should try to do that too. Any means necessary. I was just saying we could use the National Guard temporary until we find out ways to do it so that some dingleberry doesn't go in and start killing more people simply because they know that we're going to call on the National Guard first. That's what I'm talking about. But if everybody else has better ideas, please put them in the chat so we can spread the word and try to get people in funding.
I want to go over to Will and let him give his thought, and then I want to go through the comments because I don't want to get behind on the chat. So
I'm sorry to have lashed out like that, but it's I want to comment on Tina's post as well, the one that's up right now. Tommy, you bringing up the concept of parent involvement only enhances what I'm about to say. Bullying school was dealt with after the Columbine incident with Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold being teased mercilessly 2 weeks away from graduating high school, being done with the whole thing. Instead, they go in there and they murder a handful of their classmates and teachers. And the parents of a lot of these kids were brainwashed by the media, by the government, the same way that we're being brainwashed by the media and the government now. And all of a sudden, you're seeing rallies with them on the stage saying, "We need to get rid of Marilyn Manson. We need to get rid of violent movies. We need to get rid of violent TV shows." And that was the answer back then. And then a few scare tactics by the local news every night at 6:00, and the whole thing went away. And now here we are, as a result, down the road.
Yeah, it's a
never-ending, perpetuating cycle.
But let me get to the comments. We got a lot of comments here. It's the end of Tina's comment there. It's a mental health issue that no gun law can fix. That is
true. I do agree.
That is absolutely correct. Trina says we don't even need the National Guard. Simply using armed personnel at school is simple enough. Papa Cotton giving a shout out to Tommy. And he also says, teenage girl all hopped up on testosterone. I'm surprised this doesn't happen every week.
But who's to say it doesn't happen every week? It's not necessarily. I mean, they don't necessarily have to do something newsworthy like shooting up a school for it to be considered something as a result of that.
Yeah, Trina says you don't fuck around with hormones. 100% agree with you on that, Trina. Time Prophet said, when I was at school, I wanted to be Spider-Man. Luckily, I didn't have the surgery, and in the end, I turned out fine. Tobat makes a great point. The military cannot and should not be armed on civilian soil. That is correct, because that opens up a Pandora's box of setting a precedent where the military can just come in and,
They don't have to have guns.
It doesn't matter, Janet. You can't have the military and some. There's a reason why they are separate. You don't. That opens a total Pandora's box. Time Prophet says, I think we should send all the trans people to an island. Yes.
Fox will turn it into a reality show.
Bikini Atoll is the perfect island for him. I'm telling you.
Amen. Amen, Tommy.
Now I'm going to watch the reality show too.
A lot of counties don't have huge forces. I think my county has like 50 deputies, and we're the largest county in Tennessee, but rural.
Drew, I got the perfect way to end this. All we need Chuck Norris. We need to clone him and send a clone of Chuck Norris to every school. Problem solved. Yeah. Boom.
Well, I don't think this is a laughing matter. I don't think this is something to tease about. I don't think this is something to joke about or make fun about or anything. I'm trying to be serious about this. This happens all the time, and we say we're going to do something and nobody does anything, and then people try to come up with it. Well, we can't do that. We can't do this, but nobody comes up with anything except we're going to take your guns away.
Well,
and then when they take your gun, it's over.
Well, that's exactly what this is all about. A lot of this is generated and perpetuated for the reason of abolishing the Constitution. That's what all of this nonsense is about in the first place.
I know, never leave a crisis to waste.
That's why they sat there and turned race relations rabid to where they created these monsters of people, falsely saying that oppression's around every corner and this person's doing it and this person's doing it, when it's so far from the truth. They're trying to tell these people that they're normal. Oh, you're normal. No, you're not. These people are not fucking normal, and they prop them up as a protected group, and therefore again caused an abnormality in society. This is the problem, and that's exactly why they've caused all these societal abnormalities, is to get rid of buffers like the Constitution and like normal thinking. They completely rewired people's thinking.
They've been doing it for generations, and know what? Quite honestly, it really is a fucking joke at this point, and I really just don't give a shit. Because quite honestly, everybody sat by while these people were slowly infiltrating every single level of society, and nobody said a goddamn thing. And to the point that it got so overwhelming that it was like, what the hell are we going to do now? Everybody's seen this shit coming from a mile away. It started in small increments in the freaking 80s and the 90s, and nobody said shit. Oh, just let them do what they want to do. Yeah, let's take the Pledge of Allegiance out of schools. Let's make sure that there's complete separation of church and state. And let's do this and let's do that. And everybody just kept giving concessions, and nobody said nothing. And that is exactly why we're at the position that we're at right now.
It's like the old saying goes, a lot of little bottles makes a big bottle.
Well, when politicians in the media tell weirdos that they're oppressed and should act out, this is what happens. Yep, small time republic, you hit the nail on the head, son. and that's true. Trina says when we when we implement these plans, it increases taxes across the nation. Already in New Hampshire, we pay among the most per child. I'm not paying for the other schools in the nation as well. Yeah, and you have to take that into account. It is not fair to taxpayers to have to do that. Look, you had a staff at the school, used to be when I went to school, when I was a kid, that what they said went. Their word was the law, whether you liked it or you didn't. Otherwise, you went to the principal's office and you caught an ass whipping. That's how
a
it
real
was.
spanking with a paddle.
Yes, that's how it was. And if it were up to me, what I would do in these schools is I would train these kids in feudalism. I would tell them, all right, you have a problem, you have a problem, you have the right of vengeance. There you go. I would teach them to live a warrior lifestyle. Then they wouldn't be a bunch of pussies.
But then you're going to have all the parents saying, I don't want my kid learning violence at school.
And also, I do believe
if I want to learn it, then I will teach them at home. I mean, it's the same. It's going to be the same rigmarole that we see every single day in every single school. So we have got to come together as parents and say we demand action at every school. You go to your school and say we demand 24-hour security, period, and fight for it. Fight for your kids, or take your kids out of school, work with some other neighbors and figure out a way to take care of your kids at home by homeschooling. I mean, that's where it's come to, people. We have to make a decision what our children are worth it. Okay. They're our children and we have to stand up and fight for them, period. I don't see any other option. We can't rely on our governments to do anything anymore because they don't care. They're the ones that are letting more and more shit happen to them. So we can't just keep feeding our children up on a silver platter. We've got to stand up and fight for them in whatever way you see fit as a parent. Go to the school, go to your principals, go to your churches, get groups together of other parents and sit down and discuss what can we do to save our kids, because all they want to do is that I'm telling you right now, all this next week, all you're going to see is how they're going to pass all these laws and take your guns away, or don't let you get ammo. No more ammo for sale. If I wear a skirt and a fake dick hanging out from underneath it, and they go in and say I'm a man and I want to buy a gun, they'll let me. But if I go in there and say I'm against trans, they won't let me buy a gun. Do you see what I mean? That's how messed up our government is now, and we have to realize that. And that's what they're teaching your kid. It's okay to shit in a litter box at school.
Well,
okay?
we need.
That's where we're at. It's up to you and me to take our kids back. Period.
We need to reopen the fucking asylums, man.
All right. You know what? I'm with Janet on this one, but for a different reason. And Drew, yes, I understand you want to bring back the stocks and the pillory to a certain extent when it comes to schools. But I'm against that for the simple reason that I believe that human beings, the term human beings and the term slippery slope are one and the same these days. And if we were to do that, we would end. I mean, we're all in this to become. We're all in this not to become, to reaffirm ourselves as a great Western civilization. Western civilization is not built on the concept of gladiators and throw us in the pit at the Coliseum with a couple of broken bottles
a degree,
and a tiger coming out of the pit to try and eat our heads. It's
to a degree you have to have the heart of a warrior to deal with.
You do have to have the heart of a warrior, but it should not be taught. That I don't believe that it should be taught. And call me a pacifist, call me whatever you want, but it should not be taught that we're going to abandon every one of our ideals and morals that pretty much made us what we were to begin with, to a certain extent, and just go back to the whole take 10 steps away from each other, turn and come out, throwing haymakers and fists. Well,
I'll tell you what. I remember when I was in school, and surprise, surprise, there was a black kid picking on me, big black kid. This was in high school,
Well, he was probably it was a minority being a bigot toward another minority. I hate to say it.
And no, look, the blacks don't like Asians because objectively and factually, we're smarter than they are. They hate it. They hate us because we're intelligent, and they have an envy about that. They have a complex. So they dislike
I'm a white guy that can only play the stereotype game.
They dislike the fact that Asians are, number one, the most intelligent racial group on the fucking planet. They hate it. Okay? So I'm sorry. I don't know why that's a reason to hate me, but so be it.
He doesn't hate you. He felt threatened by you. That's what creates bullies. Bullies don't hate the people they bully. They're threatened by them.
But the bottom line was, he got in my face. He kept pushing. He kept saying terrible things about my family. I finally lost it, and they, and I almost threw him out the third floor window.
Well, that's a whole different thing. You talk about my family. I'm gonna come raining haymakers myself.
And I almost threw him out the third floor window of the high school. Now they broke up the fight, but he never did it again because he got the message that I wasn't playing around. But that's the point. You can't sit there and tell kids not to fight in school.
I'm not saying tell them not to fight, but don't teach them that fighting is the answer before other things.
I would like to go against that just for a moment because you're talking about the slippery slope, but we've already got the disassociation from reality. And this stuff started, once again, like back in the 80s when they started using no child left behind. It doesn't matter if you put in enough hard work or not. You should just be able to just move ahead in life. Whatever happened to the thing where you came to America, whether you were born here or whether you came over from another country, and on the back of your hard work and your ability to learn and be able to do things outside the normal range of most people that you could succeed. We started doing away with that in the 80s, and that's part of really a slippery slope when you want to talk about there's no consequences for people's actions. So whether you were doing really bad in school or whether you are beating up on people, there's no consequences. And I think there need to be consequences for these people to realize that, hey, if I do this, something bad could happen to me. If I hit this kid in school, I could wind up getting my teeth knocked out. If I do really poor in class, I may not be able to pass it. I may have a hard time finding a decent job when I graduate. We need consequences again.
Yes, I 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you.
So the point is that I'm sorry, Janet. I keep doing that. I'm very sorry.
I was just going to say that in the state of Washington State right now, Walmart and other companies are leaving. Is it Spokane or Portland, Oregon? It's Oregon. Sorry, they're leaving because they're pulling out because they can't afford $900 garbage bags going out every 5 minutes. Whole groups of people coming in and taking $900, knowing there's nothing going to happen to them. And the insurance companies are going belly up because they can't afford to keep dishing out all the money. Well, guess what? When all these companies close in Oregon, Washington, and in California, guess who's going to bail them out?
Well,
just like we bailed them out before.
I know.
Well,
this government will do that, and they'll make you and me pay for it, even though we ran our states better and more efficiently. But we're still going to pay. And that's where it's wrong. It's the government taking from the good states and paying off the bad ones. So they just keep making bad decisions and they're not punished for it. Let California, Oregon, and Washington State and all the others go belly up and then say, well, if we're going to have to pay, we get something out of it. We have to start making a deal about what we're going to get. Something like that has got to change.
I want to qualify my statements from earlier because there's going to be somebody that comes along and watches this stream and said, "Oh, that's Supreme Heretic. He's an Asian supremacist." Look,
I'm glad you're doing this.
I want to be clear. All right, I don't want to make the generalization that it's all people of one racial group because it's not. Largely, people are pretty tolerant. But there is deep down, and this is natural, and people need to stop acting like it's not natural, that you have a certain amount of pride in your heritage. You're going to have natural prejudices, natural preconceived notions of other different racial groups, different gender groups. It happens. But it isn't to the point where you're a full-blown ist of some sort. You're not necessarily racist. You're not necessarily sexist. What it boils down to is you have a natural pride about your background. Every single person of every race, color, and creed does, and that is a universal fucking truth. But people temper it better than others. So you can't generalize one racial group and say, oh, well, they're the most racist. They're the least racist. No, because most of them aren't racist. Racists, on a whole, are a small percentage of the entire human population. All right. Now, if you want to talk about people having a hard time dealing with their natural prejudices, okay, we can have that conversation. But let's stop the stupid ass myth that racism is around every corner, because it's not. But that doesn't change the fact I made a factual statement that there are a lot of blacks that envy, people like Asian people because they're high achievers. They're on the intellectual side. They're very intelligent, and largely you have, on the flip side, people that come from struggle. They live in blighted areas. They live in impoverished areas. They have to really scrape, scratch and bite for whatever they have. And you feel for them, but it also makes them pretty jaded towards people that do have natural, talents and abilities that they have to, compensate and struggle to get on that level. So, I can understand why they envy, or why they get mad, or why they get upset, or why they hold resentment. And it's not all of them, because I'll tell you what, there are plenty of black folk that are high achievers, that go after it, that get after it, that are honor roll people, that are smart as can be. But that is, unfortunately, the exception and not the norm. And it's sad, because we're not, in general, with all of this stupid programming and psyoping, they've dumbed down the population. So they're not pushing anybody to be honor roll or high achievers or anything else. It's just like giving people handouts. It's the equity system. And the equity system is garbage.
I hate to once again rewind a little bit, but Tommy, you mentioned the whole clusterfuck that was No Child Left Behind, and a lot of people don't realize that began in the 80s. People think that began under Bush 2, and it's really a shame that, and this goes for any government, any failed government program, that it results in human beings as a race, Americans as a collective citizenship, having to regress. It's not necessarily just the choices we make, being brainwashed. It's the behavior sometimes is as a result of the government picking up the pieces after an epic fail, such as, for example, like I said, No Child Left Behind.
Oh man, Tommy.
So in that respect, Tommy, I agree with you 100%.
Well, I mean, I found it like when they did that, when they first started, putting that shit out there, I felt it the most disrespectful shit in the world. Now, I don't understand how more people didn't, because they're basically saying your child is not smart enough to learn like everybody else, so we're going to need to push them ahead instead of actually giving them the special time required to teach them in the same manner. Because there's a way to do it. They just don't want to. They got lazy.
Remember, Tommy, that they used to have a mandate among teachers. If you have a struggling student, then you take that extra time that you have and you work with that student and you make sure that they get up to speed. No matter how they do it, you make sure that they get up to speed. You don't just sit there and, reward them for being a struggling student. And I
was a struggling student, and I used and I utilized that very thing. I can't imagine where I'd be today.
Yeah, and instead of being coddled, the
college graduate,
the teacher took the extra time to give you remedial training, to give you extra assignments, extra things to reinforce the learning activities that you needed to get on the level of the other students that you may have not caught up with. And, every class had a percentage of struggling students, and they needed that extra attention, and they got it because teachers used to function in their profession as teachers, and they were serious about that. And as Tommy said, that disappeared.
Well, I think one of the other things that was a leading contributor to that is the fact that they started treating school in the classroom almost like an assembly line. Okay, here's the curriculum just laid out. Boom, we're going to push as many students through these classes at one time as possible, instead of having smaller classes where it could be a little bit more personal level where the teacher can give proper instructions. And I think that's the point that we got to with schools where they got so out of control, where so many kids were failing, because it was done like an assembly line. It was just a big, in general, you either got it or you didn't, and there was no help to be found.
Yeah, go ahead, Janet.
Teachers used to get to be teachers and teach children instead of having agendas they had to follow. So they could pick and choose which children in their classroom that they worked with needed a little more help. And so what they would do is set up their curriculum to where they would get the kids started, and then they would have 2 or 3 kids in the back where they would sit and help them a little more. I remember I used to donate 2 or 3 days a week just to assist teachers, passing out papers, helping them go to the ladies' room, or boys' room, or whatever they needed, because I wanted my schools to be successful. And that's another thing that's hurting really bad, is you're not even having half of the parents show up for parent-teacher conferences because parents don't care whether their children are learning or getting their lunches or breakfast or anything. They don't care about that.
It's a vicious
cycle.
cycle.
I'll do you one better than that. A lot
so
of parents
giving the teachers their job back and letting them be teachers is where we need to start, because that's when it stopped. When the teachers were handed pieces of paper and said, you have to do this, this, and this, and this is what you have to teach a kid.
Well,
so
unfortunately,
you had kids graduating with that can't read and write.
Well, unfortunately, you don't have real teachers now, though, because so many of them going into that profession are of the woke persuasion, and they're in there specifically to poison people's minds with that ideology and idea. I love Trina. I love that comment because I remember that. That was a great expression from Rush. I loved that. Death Angel Shadow, and I want to address this comment. I would still argue it's not an intelligence thing, it's a cultural thing. And culture includes different socioeconomic classes, not just races or ethnicities. And yes, you're not wrong about that, Death Angel Shadow. I absolutely understand your point of view on that. The thing is, we can make the argument, sure, it's the haves and the have-nots. It's the tale as old as time. There's that component to it as well. So, I mean, that's always going to be a thing in society that's never going to change. You're always going to have the haves versus the have-nots.
Well, it's also part of the problem where they tell certain people and that are in certain areas, like I don't care if you're living in a big city or a rural community, but if you're living in the worst section of town, it's the stigma that this is where you are and you're never going to be able to rise above it. And so many people they just believe right into that ideology, and the ones that don't are the ones that are able to work outside that limitation and remove themselves from that situation to do a lot better. Unfortunately, you got these Democrats right now that are beating people down and saying this is the best you can do without our help.
I love the time profits comment.
I'm glad. I gotta say, so do I.
I'm glad that the teachers gave Will more time, and I'm glad he finally climbed out of that well and is now back on the panel.
Go viral, by the way. I'm still waiting for that meme to go viral.
Oh my God, that was a classic meme, I swear. Another monster said it's a mental illness and should be treated as such. Yeah, the trans agenda is. Well, now they have to teach kids to pass the test instead of actually teaching. Where's shop, home ec, welding, and auto mechanics in high school? They don't have that because they don't want these kids to survive. They want them to be
semester of it in high school, but that really did. It was just
they want them to be dependent upon the government, so that's why they're teaching them in that fashion. Yep, Papa Cotton, you're not wrong about that.
Well said.
Rita says, Drew, you hit the nail on the head. There are teachers coming in to teach ideology and not basics. Correct. Yeah.
Like I said, Common Core, they're handed a piece of paper and the teachers are expected to follow the rules or they don't have a job.
Man, I'm just waiting. Hey, Tommy, how long do you think it's going to take after we end the stream for somebody to watch the replay and make a comment that I'm a bigot?
Are you kidding? There's somebody already crying in their soup right now over it.
I was just about to say, why does the show have to be over for that to happen?
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, I haven't.
What's going to happen, Drew, is they're reading right now, and probably about 5 to 10 minutes after the stream ends, when they're done reading, is when they'll get upset and maybe try to report it.
No, somebody's going to report that. They're going to take what I said earlier completely out of context. I know, on purpose.
The question is, will the protest be on your lawn before or after you move off the property?
Yeah, I don't know. I've already got Mexican squatters trying to get in. They have to get in line, so the protest has to stand behind the Mexican squatters first. Oh man,
my, what a mess.
Death Angel Shadow says, I took drafting in middle school, shop in high school. Yeah, and that's how it should be. But again, they don't want people in the trades, you guys. They don't want people
that was one of the things he did to my daughter, even down here in Florida. Like, one of the things that was removed in her last year was the automotive classes.
They actually had automotive classes when I was in middle school. They had like intro to automotive classes when you were in 8th grade.
Well, I had shop and agri and home ec and typing. There was tons of things. They tried to get you to graduate from high school and be able to get a job right out of high school, so you could pay your way through college or a technical school. But today, you're graduating, you don't even know how to even dress yourself or write your name. I mean, that's where they want you. They want everyone to be dependent on the government to take care of them and diagnose all the kids with ADD and whatever else, so that all of them are on pharmaceuticals for the rest of their life. That's what they have planned for us. That's what they're doing. That's what they've been doing. And until we as parents say enough is enough, you're not getting your hands on my kids anymore, and we stand up and fight back, it's just going to get worse.
Do you remember this one? This was sometime in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. They were trying to push for all public schools to actually have a uniform. so all the
Mhm.
kids looked exactly the same. Some of
Yep.
that socialist ideology right there, that communist shit.
hmm
Mhm.
They do that a lot now already in lots of schools in the big cities. They're already doing that. And it's because the parents let them. See, that's the sad fact is that half of America lets their kids do this stuff, and they just drop them off and don't worry about it.
I don't know. It's the damage done is just, I mean, it's absolutely astounding because when you get down to it and you see where we're at as a society right now, all right, and if we as people that are awake, that understand the issues, continue to allow this false reality to be built around us and not say a word, then we're equally responsible. We need to take these people to task and say, you're a goddamn fucking weirdo. And just tell them and shame them. I don't feel bad about shaming these people. I'm this far away from saying, hey, bring back bashing.
Well, in some states,
just make sure
you
the people
can-
that wouldn't commit a school shooting are around when that happens. Because,
Mhm. Well, in some states, you can already get fined and stuff for misgendering or saying a bad word that someone doesn't agree with. I mean, did all of you see that movie with Sylvester Stallone where he said, fuck, damn, shit, and these pieces of tickets would come out of the wall and he took it to wipe his ass with? Well, we're not
You are
that far
fined
away
one
from
credit
that.
for repeated
That's
use
right.
of the
We're not
verbal
that far
statement.
away from that. I'm pretty sure that our grandkids will be doing that. That's the kind of society they're going to live in. They'll walk around like zombies. They're afraid to speak because anything they say will be used against them. Because there won't be freedom of speech. You won't have any rights. You just do what you're told and like it.
They will.
Now, I see some of the comments about the school uniforms, and I'm sorry, but yeah, it is socialist and communist because it's teaching you to conform. There's supposed to be no individuality. You are supposed to conform, and that's really what it's all about.
Hey, Will.
Sir?
You just cost me $6,000.
Yeah, Tommy, it's that they don't want our children to have individualness. They want them to all be the same. They want them all to do what they're told and do what they say and march the same tune. Nobody can stand out. They're all cookie cutters. They're all the same gender. See, that's what they want. And as long as we just keep sending them to school and not doing anything, I don't see how it's going to get better.
It's funny you mentioned, and the movie is called Demolition Man for the
Demolition
person and a
Man.
half out there who didn't come on. Everybody knows, but the point is, it's as bad as the reviews were on that movie, and as much of a send up as it may be, it is just astounding how much of a cautionary tale a Sylvester Stallone, Wesley Snipes movie from the early 90s could be. The commentary on our times today.
I mean, how
long? Real quick, Janet.
By the way, I thought it was a great movie. I loved it.
Yeah. Before you make your comment, Janet, I just want to say thank you, Terminus S, for the $5 tip on Stream Elements side. He says about Asians being the smartest. We also know that thanks to Drew, Asians have the largest average penis size in the world. # beware the Drew. Thank you for the $5.
For the very end.
I love you. Thank you, buddy.
Literally to the very end. Thank you, Terminus.
Yep. Oh, it was. I love it. But yeah, go ahead and make your point, Janet.
I was just going to say that it's this, I know I sound like a broken record, but it all boils down to us parents going to the schools. Many times I've been sitting and waiting to speak to the principal. Like when, I got so many stories. Too many to say, But and they got tired of seeing me because of books in the library or a game that one of the kids took from the library and was playing, and it would say shit, damn, every time the kid would swing a ball trying to hit a golf ball and stuff like that. And I'd take it to the school and I'd say, didn't anybody play this game before you put it in the library? No. See? It's up to us. It's up to us as parents and grandparents to step in and tell them to fucking get over this shit and do something about it. We're paying taxes for you to have a job. Do your damn job and take care of our children. So until we do that and more parents stand up, like that woman that read that book wearing that lingerie, basically to prove a point to the school that smut was in their schools for kids to read and check out. And they go, it's inappropriate. Well, yeah, then why is it in the library? Until parents start coming together and fighting for our children, they're going to take every inch they can. And we're losing the battle because we're losing our children. Our future is our kids.
Exactly. You know what, Will? I can't wait till an apartment opens up, dude, because God, do I really want to hang my centerfolds back up. But no, the
obviously
thing,
he got your message, Janet. Just like that.
But the thing is with all of this. Again, I know there's going to be people that don't understand my comments today, or there's going to be people that watch this stream. Not you guys are in the chat right now, but people that watch this stream, they're going to be like, "Oh my God, that guy's a bigot." He may as well be Nick Fuentes all over again. Blah blah blah. They're going to say
nice reference.
They're going to say shit like that. But you know what? I mean, hey, look, I'm based. I'm going to be real about it. I mean, I take people on their merits. And, I'm not going to apologize for just putting, throwing what the score is out there, because that's how it is.
Oh, Drew, did you tell everybody you're renaming the show to Bigoted Resistance?
I should, dude. You go all in, right, Tommy?
I can't wait to see the intro for that. I am so sorry.
Oh my God, dude.
I guess I will see the rest of you in hell.
Oh my God, man. That's funny. That's fucking funny. Oh, Jesus Christ. Tommy, you threw me off that. Sorry, Lord. Oh God.
Yes. Yes, my son. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Oh God.
Yeah, we could definitely live off this last show for a couple of weeks.
Small Time Republic says hanging up centerfolds Drew can make that Shawshank Redemption hole in the wall all in one go. Jesus.
You know what the sad thing is? He's not kidding, and you're right.
Oh,
that is correct. He could.
If you want to help this show, you can use the streamelements.com. Just use the exclamation point tip command, just a tip, and you can help the show that way. Or in our pinned comment, of course, we have the gibsongo.com/Taylor Home Project. I really need to bring that goal home of that last $300 so I can actually have a place to live in the next day, because tomorrow all the utilities get shut off and I'm going to be living on the streets for like 3 days unless I get a little bit of that anyway. But oh God, here we go. Time Prophet says, transphobe, fear of a man in distress. Trina says, behind his centerfold is a glory hole in the wall. Oh my God. Awesome One says, Drew, are you in a hovel? Yeah. Oh no, my house is actually finally selling this week. Awesome one, or it will be. The deal will be done by Friday.
Yeah, Drew is actually in a trench in the front yard right now. With all the wires to his computer are out there in it.
I feel like that, Tommy.
Once the Mexicans left, he was able to take it for himself.
Yeah, I won back the trench from the.
See, look at that, Drew. Now you're really underground.
It smells like Velveeta. No, wait, that's not it.
I thought you said they left you the taco truck.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. Fucking Trina started. Trina, did you start that shit last week with the taco?
I wish someone would leave me a taco truck.
Oh man. Actually, on the way to the storage unit today, at this one gas station headed, it was over in South Amherst. There was a taco truck, which is the funniest fucking thing because South Amherst is like.
I was gonna say, what the hell's it doing in South Amherst?
South Amherst is like hillbilly and like meth boy heaven, you know, because it's like
South Amherst has a Taco Bell, and on top of that, somehow South Amherst has a Taco Bell. People are gonna go to the taco truck instead of Taco Bell.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't get it.
Oh, man.
So, Drew, did you pull over and ask them if they still wanted to look at the house?
Tommy. Oh God.
Wait, did you pull over and realize, wait, weren't you guys on my lawn last month?
Yeah, no kidding. All right. I will now. Tobat says, hey, the hillbillies love tacos. Jesus.
Well, they also consider Taco Bell real Mexican food. Oh, you didn't hear that from me.
Oh, man. Terminus S says, Trina, Drew size glory hole would be as wide as
the channel.
Oh, man. Another monster. Yeah, we need a drink. Someone say Nephilim. Oh, God. All right. We can keep this madness going, but I'm going to go around the panel, let everybody tell you guys where they can be found. And we will start with Will, because we all know he can be found in a well.
It didn't take this long for them to get Baby Jessica out, and that was in the 80s. Maybe it's a size thing. I don't know. If we were going out, at least for a while, we went out swinging tonight. My blood pressure is through the roof, and I got to tell you, I've never been happier. As for the hiatus, and as for where I'm going to be, I have made a decision. It's time for me to get a channel. So stay tuned. The next, probably by the end of the weekend, hopefully my channel will be up, and hopefully I can, fill up the well, if you will, that is being emptied with the absence of our fearless leader here. And needless to say, I just lost my train of thought.
All right. Well, if you do that, and you've already got people saying that's awesome.
All right.
Trina's happy. Tobat's happy.
I put it out there. Now I have to fucking do it. All right.
Yeah, you better fucking deliver now,
all
man.
Right.
You said it. All right. Let's go over to Mr. Tommy and the Guinea Pig Collective. Oh, Tobat came up with the show name for you already.
Of course he did. That's original.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
Even more original.
See, got to keep it real. Back when somebody used to actually make good movies. Same old. Just having fun. Thanks for letting me jump in, Drew. I know I've been MIA a few days, man. Freaking. I didn't realize how bad the pollen count apparently was yesterday and here in Florida. And when I went out, man, by the time I came back, I had such a banging headache that I couldn't even concentrate on looking at a TV screen, let alone like messing with anything on the internet. So back in action now, doing the shorts as always and having fun. Coming on here talking about this ridiculousness and, of course, smacking idiots around on Twitter because that's always fun to do. Guys, thank you to everybody on the panel. Thanks to everybody, of course, in the chat. You all are amazing. Remember, never let anybody tell you what you can and can't say, what you should or should not watch, unless it's absolute trash, because your silence gives consent.
You know what? And listen, folks, we will actually at some point have an outro in the next year when Tommy gets around to finishing it. I promise.
I am getting close. I am getting close.
So does that mean we're not rebranding?
Yeah, there will be at some point a United Underground outro. Drew could Drew could use this dog to take out who else. Trina says this was a good stream. Yeah, it was a good stream. Look, it was 100% in your face real, and that's what I appreciate. Nobody held back, and I like that.
I yelled at the host, and it felt good.
Tobat says, "No, Will, I will come on your channel. I know you want me." I'm kidding. I can't wait, man. You will be great. See, people like you.
He doesn't think he's going to be co-hosting with me on certain occasions. I guess he doesn't want to. Fine.
Yeah. Death Angel Shadow says, "Be sure to like and subscribe." Tobat says, "Thanks everyone. You are all racist."
All right, you know what? I'm not a racist, but I am culpable. I'll admit it. Okay.
All right, let's go over to the lady that classes up to join.
Thank you for joining us tonight and supporting Drew. He really deserves it. He's a wonderful person, and he loves this country.
I do, and I love you.
And you can just come to my channel if you want to see a couple shorts. I just make shorts mostly, and I haven't read my book in like 3 weeks. I've had a lot of things going on at my own home. But on Monday night, Bruce and I do movie reviews. And that's Bruce Lombardi of Dick's Division's channel. And Tuesday night, I'll be here whenever Drew comes back and gets going again. And I'm going to try to start reading some more of my book, Revelation. And I'm going to start posting videos about baby chicks, and I'm going to show you my chicken journey.
I thought for a second she was going to say baby Jessica. I'd be like, oh, shit, Will's got company. Let's see. Make sure you like and subscribe, and also subscribe to everybody on the panel. Subscribe to Tommy. Subscribe to Janet, because Janet's channel is doing good, and she's really awesome with the short videos, folks. I mean, she's got it down to a science. Janet's done real big on TikTok. She's done well over multiple platforms. And, I just love to see the people I care about succeed. And also with Trina is coming up big time with her real horror streams. And, she understands that everybody likes horror. And, it's awesome because she does really cool movies. I had a ball a week or two ago when we did Frankenhooker, and just the movies she picks. Trina picks awesome movies, so make sure that you catch the real horror streams on Trina's channel, and those are usually on Wednesdays. Papa Cotton, yes, Janet did write a book, and Janet is she won't brag about it too much, but she is a gifted writer.
But yeah, it's called Revelation. It's about vampires, witches, warlocks, and familiars, and archangels.
Yeah. And finally, folks, listen, you can catch me here on this channel. Worst comes to worst, I will be doing videos and whatnot in the interim, in my absence, because at least, you can do those very easily from a phone. So I can at least do those. And I want to keep a running vlog of the process now that, tomorrow or Thursday is actually going to be my technical last day in the house tomorrow will be my last day in the house, but Thursday I'll probably return just to pick up a few things. But yeah, tomorrow I'll probably record a video, and it'll be the first in the vlog entries. And I'm kind of going to do a blog entry about the process of, moving on from this portion of life into a brand new life, basically. And I think that'll be quite interesting. So I'm going to do some videos and things like that in the meantime until I can get up and running on a solid internet connection and everything else. Because, when you are at the mercy of hotel Wi-Fi, as a lot of you that travel know, okay, you never know what you're going to get. It's always a mixed bag with what you get at hotels. So if they happen to have good Wi-Fi there, then I will try and do streams. And if not, then you can at least count on the fact I'll keep this running blog going with videos and whatnot. And I'll do the occasional video on politics and current events so that we keep on our marks with that. But until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, man. I love you guys. I really do. And I appreciate all the help. I know things were kind of light tonight, but if you guys see me tweet out the fund, the Gifts and Go, just please, if you can, retweet it. Let's get it out there. Let's share it. You never know whose eyes something will get in front of, and maybe it can pull through. At least that'll put a dent in keeping me at that extended stay. So anyhow, thank you so much. I love you guys as an audience. You guys have been with me, most of you, from the beginning. So thank you for your continued support, man. I will always ride for you guys, ride or die. So I appreciate you. So take care of yourselves, and good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, hi, Coast Casino.
Hey, welcome to Sporking News Podcast. My name is Scott.
I'm E. Temple Queen of the Place to Be Reviews.
I am the Patriot, True Taylor, aka Supreme Heretic.
The Red Gaze on YouTube, at the Red Gaze on Twitter.
What up, what up, what up?
Hello, everybody. It's me, Vinny.
The voice of Immortal Coil.
Oh, hey, I am the Ghost Bear.
What's going on, Tommy? And to get anybody to like this?
Yeah, I'm Wes Moody of the Wes Moody Webcast.
Tone, death, rockin'.
We have a lot of cool things over there. I do some magic tricks.
Hi guys, try to stay here.
My name is Monkey Knight.